doesn't look like anybody has. Is anybody online want anything?
3-minute rule must have discouraged people. but
Yeah,
it
it must.
worked.
Yeah. Well, it looks like a fairly quiet agenda anyway.
Oh, may I say something?
Sure. Identify yourself, please.
Bill Butler?
Oh, Bill, yeah. I sent you an email.
Yes, I know, but I'd like it to be publicly stated. People keep asking me what's happening, and I don't really know what's happening with the junkyard on Nashville Road.
It's not a junkyard. It is not, it's called a vehicle storage. And
Okay.
and the town zoning administrator is working on that. He has issued a notice of non-compliance. And that's what the first few steps are. And where you try to work with the landowner to come to some mutual agreement. If nothing happens at that level, it goes to a notice of violation, which means it comes to the select board. We have to, because it's a legal proceeding, then we have to vote on sending that to the lawyer. And nobody likes to have to go to court like that. But if it does, it's a $200 fine a day.
Okay, and how fast will this be progressing?
You never know. I mean, that's really all we can say. You never know, because sometimes it's taken years. And the court costs get pretty high at that point.
Yeah. Is there any, I mean, we're abutting landowners and we see this every day. It's appalling. So I would like this to go forward as quickly as possible. And I know a lot of other people would too.
Yeah, I was going to talk to Chris next week anyway, because I mean, if it's something he can do, it's probably something he has to go to the DRB for to get that approved. And I'm sure it requires screening.
Screening, oh, you mean the property?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I want to just make sure it's progressing and at a pace that's going to satisfy the citizens of Jericho. And I'll tell you, West Bolton is very alarmed about it too.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
See you, Bill.
All right. I might stay.
Those vehicles all operational?
Most
Like
of,
winter storage?
yeah, it really does look like winter storage just outside. Some of them actually have nice covers on them. Others, yeah, some of the boats will look ready, but but there's even a food truck. Yeah, I mean, he's had an agricultural exemption because he was raising pigs there for a while. And he's now doing all kinds of, he's offering his services for yard work and all kinds of different things. So, classic
Yep.
multi-purpose Vermonter, basically. But, he's now on the Trails Committee. We just appointed him there. All righty. Oh, there's Connor.
Yeah, I'm always waiting for it to ask a question there, Catherine. I am curious, again, for the record, Connor Lahiff, I'm curious if you guys have actually inspected whether or not it really is, you just immediately called it not a junkyard. And there are rules and regulations to what is a junkyard and what's not. Right. And so, it would have to be inspected to see exactly what exactly it is. But even if it isn't a junkyard and it's deemed storage, there are in the rules about setbacks, there is stuff about fencing and screening that need to be followed as well. So I hope the town is looking into that too.
Oh, that's what the zoning administrator will be looking at, because if it is something that they can come to an agreement about, he would have to go to the DRB to be approved. And all those would then be put into place.
Okay. There was something else I was going to say. It's also, I don't know if you noticed, there is new stuff as well. It just keeps building. So it's hard to call it winter storage anymore when something showed up just the other day.
I know that one obviously is good because it had a cover on it.
Right.
Yeah, I know it does keep growing. So I don't know, but I know that Chris is working on it. Because I have
the other piece I was going to add is, if if the vehicles stay and for a longer period of time, then it's not just winter storage, obviously. And if they are unregistered, uninspected, it could be deemed junkyard. And I
Right.
hope the town knows that junkyards are only allowed in the commercial district. So it does not matter about his agricultural exemption either.
Right, that's
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah, so I
Thank you
just,
for, thank for
yeah.
your planning commission.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's help. I mean, that's good for the record. It really
Yeah.
is.
That's all I have.
Thanks. Can I just ask you a question, Connor? And I'm new on the
Yeah.
select board and saw the picture that Bill sent, but haven't been down the road. Is the concern just that it's unappealing to look at?
Yeah, well, that's one of the concerns. I mean, one of the other concerns is it's pretty darn close to the Millbrook floodplain too. And I know there doesn't seem to be anything in zoning that relates to that. But that is certainly something to think about. There was a time during one of the windstorms in January that one of the vehicles actually went down the hill and was probably
Yeah.
sitting in the floodplain for a period of time. And you know, if it's a disabled vehicle or if it's in not good shape, then that could mean that there's oil or gas or anything else getting into the floodplain, which also is not good.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Thank you, Connor.
Yep.
Yeah, it is not very attractive. And I know why Bill thinks it's a junkyard because one of the vehicles is pretty trashy looking. But some of the things are very functional looking. I mean, two big school buses.
Yeah.
So. But I figured, I checked with Chris to see where we were. Any other public to be heard? Any other comments? And has everybody signed in? Make sure over there. So if not, if there's no more comments, we're going to move on to review and consider approval of the local emergency management plan. And this is done every year.
Correct. So you should have the most recent final draft of the local emergency management plan. So this is a annual plan that is updated and works in conjunction with our overall all hazards mitigation plan. And the plan includes all the appropriate contacts, facilities, and people who would be involved were there an environmental or national statewide emergency of some place that required access to shelter, engagement by the Underhill Jericho Fire Department and potentially rescue. And the reason that it is important that we have this plan updated annually is that we doing so keeps us in good standing with the state and federal emergency authorities, and allows us to be able to capably access FEMA funds if we did have some kind of flooding event or natural disaster that required that kind of support.
As usual, my usual fuss is that we don't have a shelter that allows pets.
That's interesting. I don't know.
I thought Matt said that Browns River would allow them last year, but maybe not because it's still,
Well, I think he did, and apology if it's my oversight for not writing that in. My guess has always been that if you showed up with a shelter in need with a pet, there probably would be no
I would hope
Nope,
so
nobody
because.
there to turn you away, but.
They've had all, they've had all those really serious flooding this summer. There were a whole issue with people and trying to figure out what to do because
Oh,
they had
yeah.
their pets and everything else. And so it'd be good to have that. The other thing is, Pastor Arnold Thomas, it's under Good Shepherd Lutheran Church. He's retired. So I don't know
Oh,
if
is he retired?
yeah, he's fully retired now.
So we could remove his name from the list?
Yeah,
They
exactly.
do run a preschool at the.
They do,
at
yeah,
the
but I don't think
church.
he's the one in charge anymore. I don't know who is.
I think his name was there just as a contact for the church generally and not necessarily the school. But
Exactly, but he has,
I could look into
he has formally retired. Cause he used to do a book club that with my husband, so I know from that. And then I know, we need to Richard Bernstein did not get
Well,
reappointed.
So that was another question area, because my understanding is that he's remaining in the role through the end of the fiscal year, at the end of June.
I
So
thought he had
I
got,
don't know
maybe,
whether to include him or not.
okay, yeah, because I know he did not want to be reappointed.
Right.
So,
I can ask him.
yeah, I mean, I don't. Yeah,
I'm sorry, where are you at?
Yeah, what page you? looking at?
page 6.
Right, local public contacts, municipal contacts. Oh, yeah. Almost at the bottom there.
Yeah.
Town health officer.
Yeah,
Town health officer.
Okay.
yeah, he had asked
So
not
we
to
need to
be.
find another one.
Yeah, we will. At one point, there was somebody else who could, but I don't, well, I have to advertise because that's a toughie, because you need somebody in the health industry essentially
Hmm.
to be the health officer. Because they,
Does healthcare IT count?
well, if you want to go inspect apartments and things like that for health issues.
My wife gets a little annoyed when my peers call ourselves in healthcare when we just work on the IT side of it. You're not in healthcare.
So two things under municipal government contacts. One is that my cell phone is not in there.
Where are we?
On page 6, this is just above where Catherine was a minute ago.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
So my cell phone should probably go in there. And then I
That's-
saw that Matt had put in a note asking that 802 be put in front of all the numbers.
Okay, hang on, slow down a sec.
That's right, because it has to be the 11. No.
So which local contacts?
So no, under on page 6, the last section, municipal
select-
government contacts.
Oh, right, I'm sorry,
select
you're
board
right.
all.
Your name is there, but no phone number.
Yep,
Do you have a home number that you
Nope,
emailed
just-
me or?
yep. The mobile is just 802
Okay.
323
Yep.
4287,
I
which
put
is
it-
already somewhere else in the
Yeah,
document. Yeah.
exactly.
And then I would just put 802s in front of all those.
Yep,
That section needs them.
I did go back and miss that one.
Yeah, it's required now because I think for the nationwide suicide hotline.
So we need a motion on this?
Yes, you have to approve it
I'll make a motion to approve the 2024 local emergency management plan as presented
with correction.
with corrections. Thank you.
I second that.
All those in favor say aye.
I
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you. Motion passes. Now we're going to talk about the Chittenden Solid Waste District Annual Budget Report. And it's not Amy Jewell who's presenting. Tom, I didn't write down.
I think it's Sarah Reeves. who
Sarah
will make it.
Reeves, yeah, there she is, yeah.
Good evening.
Sir, out there, hi.
I know we had you slated for 7. Are you ready?
Yes, we can definitely be ready. Thank you. We appreciate the early getting on there. And thank you for noting that it actually it is our fiscal 25 budget and not the annual report. And if possible, I think my colleague
Do you
Jen
wanna-
Holiday is
Do you
also
want to share your screen?
actually, if Jen Holiday could share her screen from CSWD, she should also be on. I've been having intermittent connectivity issues, so if I happen to blip off.
I do see Jen out there. I'm not sure if she can hear.
Yeah, I'm here. If you could
Hi,
help.
Jen.
Oh, I've got it. Thank you.
Perfect, thanks very much.
Uh,
We appreciate the slot on the agenda tonight, thank you. Again, my name is Sarah Reeves, I'm the Executive Director for Chittenden Solid Waste District. And we are the municipal entity that was formed many years ago by the member communities in Chittenden County to manage the solid waste generated by residents, businesses, institutions, schools, and visitors in the county. Next, please. So I'd like to give a quick little update on who we are and really focusing in on that revenue piece of the pie, since we are here to present our fiscal 25 budget. So as an example, this is our last audited year, fiscal 23, and our revenues are contained within 3 main areas. So you see user fees, which are also known as tip fees. Those are the fees that are paid directly to CSWD to by our customers to manage materials on their behalf. The SWMF is the solid waste management fee, and that is a fee charged to haulers directly for all the material that is brought to the Coventry landfill. So any trash that is being disposed is charged that fee. And then material and product sales, those are the revenue we receive for selling things like our compost products, local color paint, and recyclables. Where we do not generate any revenue is we do not receive any revenue in the form of income tax, sales tax, or property taxes from our member communities, nor do we assess you a per capita fee. Next. And in previous presentations to select boards and councils, they've asked to also have me let you know how we're doing. And so I'm going to turn you to column number 3. That is the material that was disposed in the landfill, again, in fiscal 23. So of that nearly 120,000 tons that was disposed in Coventry, about half actually could have been diverted from disposal, either into, so the green is organics, either into composting or into recycling, or into construction demolition debris recycling, or special materials. And special materials are things like batteries, electronics, bulbs of that nature. So we focus a lot of our attention, a lot of our outreach and education on making sure that folks know how they need to responsibly manage those materials and what they can do overall to reduce the waste they're producing in general. Next, please. So for fiscal 25, we're anticipating income just shy of $16 million. Again, you'll see those 3 main large buckets, those large pieces of the pie. The sale of materials does tend to go up and down a bit. That is because that number is, the bulk of that number is made up from revenue from the materials recycling facility. And as we've discussed many times over the years, we do not control the price that we are paid for recycling. It is a commodity out on the global commodity market. And so we do our best to provide a very clean stream of material, but ultimately we can't demand any price for that. So that goes up and down. The fiscal 23 was close to 17% of the overall revenues, and now we're looking at it being about 16%. Next, please, Jen. So I also threw in this year a fiscal 25 expenses pie chart. You're skipping around a little bit. There we go. Mainly to show where the two key buckets of expenses are. So shouldn't be at all a surprise to the select board that payroll expenses are a large component of our overall expenses. The other large bucket is materials management. Those are the fees that we, CSWD, pay to generally to haulers to move the material on our behalf to either the landfill from our drop-off centers to recycling markets. It also is where we code the cost of the contract that we have with Casella to operate our materials recycling facility. Next, please. Our bottom line this year is looks a bit different than in previous years, previous budgets. This is the first budget I've brought to you in my 8 years with the district, where we are actually showing we're budgeting a shortfall. I'll talk a little bit more in a moment as to how we're going to be addressing that. Next. A couple of key items in our fiscal 25 to 24 comparison. You can see that our revenue is not changing significantly at all. It's barely kind of moving the needle, so we're almost flat revenue year to year. The expenses tell the tale. That is going up, anticipated nearly 12%. And of that, the largest percentage increase is in that equipment and fleet number. And in that number, fully half of that number is directly related to our current aging materials recycling facility. And I'll talk more about that in a moment as well. Next, please. So if the budget does go completely, entirely according to exactly how we've penned it out, and we do incur a shortfall, we will draw that shortfall from our undesignated reserve to cover that amount. However, each year we do conservatively under budget certain areas, we conservatively over budget certain areas. And for example, on the materials recycling facility, because we don't know exactly what the pricing is going to be, we tend to be very, very conservative on that revenue. Our finance committee actually felt that we were being too conservative. Leslie Nolte is a member of the finance committee, and she agreed. So we did bump up our estimation for the revenue from that facility, but that is one that we tend to be very, very conservative on. Also conservative on the amount of material coming in to both the recycling facility and the compost facility. We are actively seeking out more tons for both, but we wanted to, again, hedge the bet there and not overestimate our income. Where we conservatively over budget is on things like wages and benefits, particularly on the benefits side. And we do have 4 or 5 positions being requested in this budget. And any new position, we don't know who the person is going to be. So we always budget for example, for a family plan on the healthcare benefits. And that is obviously the highest plan we could budget for. An area that we routinely do not fully expend, but we want to, is on the community cleanup fund. And I know that Jericho in past years has certainly tapped into that fund, and we want you to spend that money. And the way that you can access that is simply for a project to kind of bubble up from the town. The project ideas would then go to be sent over to Leslie, and Leslie would take a look at that, and she would make sure that those projects kind of align with the community cleanup fund priorities. And then she sends that on to us. We say, yep, you're right. And it gets back to the town. You do the project, you submit receipts for reimbursement, and that's how that project can be covered. So we want you to spend that money. Next, please. So the new change this year, and it's something that we have not done in quite some time, is we are increasing the solid waste management fee from $27 per ton to $30 per ton effective July 1. We have not increased this fee since fiscal 13. This is, again, the fee that is charged to haulers at the point of disposal, so generally at the Coventry landfill. And usually what happens is they could spread the cost out, that increase over hopefully all of their customers to mitigate that impact. When we did the math for all households in Chittenden County, if the increase were fairly spread out over all households, the impact is just under 30 cents per month from this fee. Drop-off center customers, however, will actually not be impacted by this increase. We do pay the solid waste management fee because it's embedded in the fees that we pay to Casella to move the material to Coventry. So we are actually paying that fee as well. So we would embed the portion of that fee in the bag prices that we charge at the drop-off centers. But since we are not increasing the bag prices of the drop-off centers, the impact to the increase to the solid waste management fee will not be felt by drop-off center customers this year. Next, please. We're also increasing the fee at the materials recycling facility from $85 a ton to $90 a ton. And again, this is directly related to the needs of this current facility. This is not related to the new MRF that we're building. This is to cover additional expenses related to keeping this old facility running. And we anticipated that we would be at this place. Basically, this facility, with the exception of 2 pieces of equipment that will be moving to the new MRF, is at the end of its useful life. And we had hoped to have built the new facility a couple of years ago, but COVID threw a huge monkey wrench into the plans. So we had, our timeline was such that we had expected that we would need to be investing more in this facility to keep it running. We were hoping to have been avoid that. So this is hopefully the most we'll have to spend in this fiscal year. We're looking at probably a similar amount fiscal 26. We should be up and running in a new facility by mid fiscal 26. So hopefully we will not be spending too much money on this old facility, because what we're looking to have to put into it, we will not be able to take out of it. And the timing is just, it is unfortunate. Next, please. Some good news though, we are not looking to increase the fee at the organics recycling facility at Green Mountain Compost. So that is good news. And we're being conservative on the inbound tons. We are actively seeking more tons to be brought in to supplement that revenue there. We did increase this year the compost product prices, and we realized that we were, for regional products of a similar nature, we were on the low end of what was being charged in the marketplace. So we raised our prices to about the mid-range in the marketplace, and sales have remained very strong. We are also going to be asking our board to approve a contamination policy for this facility. It is modeled after one that has been in place at our materials recycling facility for a number of years. And this is to address ongoing contamination issues in the food scraps that are coming into our compost facility. And it's really a tool that is needed in our toolbox, but it's also a tool that the haulers need. It's something that they can then bring to their customers to say, hey, CSWD is getting serious about this, and we need to make sure that these loads are as clean as possible. Because if we levy any fines on the haulers will then pass that on to their customer. And our goal is not to levy any fines. We want to be working with the haulers, identify problems in loads. They more often than not know where the problems are originating, or can kind of narrow it down. Our goal would then be to send out our education and outreach folks to work directly with those generators to reduce the contamination. So it's something that we have long known we have needed, and we've been working with our hauling community for the past year on developing this language, and our board will be voting on this next week at their board meeting. Next, please. And as I mentioned a little bit ago, we are not increasing fees to bag prices at the drop-off centers either. We've also added a new extra large bag. So we now have about 5 different bag sizes for our customers. So you can easily find a size that will fit your needs, and the price will reflect that as well. This budget does reflect additional hours both in Milton and in Burlington. We'll be expanding the Burlington Center to add back trash to that facility, and we're hoping to do that by the end of this fiscal year, the current one. And they will also adopt the same Tuesday to Saturday schedule that is in place everywhere except for Heinsberg. And they will also be accepting credit and debit cards, so that will mean all of our drop-off centers will be accepting credit cards. Next, please. A very, very quick look at some highlights of capital projects, the big one being the new MRF construction. We are out to bid right now for the construction of that building. Those responses are due back at the end of next week. We'll be evaluating those over the first 2 weeks of May. Hope to bring a recommendation to the board at their May meeting at the end of May. And then ideally we'll have all of our permits in place, the contractor in place, and be able to break ground in late summer, or hopefully not any later than early fall. The goal is still to have this building ready and the equipment installed and commissioning about 18 months from now. The fund equity is just a quick highlight of our reserves. All of our reserves are adequately funded with one exception, and that is the landfill post-closure reserve. That reserve, we're in about year 28, 29 of our 30-year closure plan for the landfills that we are charged with managing in Williston. So it is not at all unusual that the reserve fund at this point in its life would be dwindling down. That is to be expected. However, what could not have been planned for and was not expected was the potential for us to have to invest at this late stage in the landfill's life in a process to treat the leachate, the material that is still being generated, for PFAS and the forever chemicals. You may have seen some news in last week when the EPA released their new drinking water standards to essentially require drinking waters to get down to almost a non-detectable level of PFAS. We are anticipating that there will be similar rules, regulations coming down the pipe for wastewater and for leachate. So we believe we have a few years to build that reserve back up, and that is where the bulk of the increase to the solid waste management fee, the bulk of that additional revenue is going to be used to continue to supplement this particular reserve. Next, please. And as always, we ask for your consideration and to vote to authorize our budget for adoption. Every member city and town has one vote, so it is not weighted. You have the same vote as Burlington or as Bolton, and we ask for that consideration at the meeting. And Jen, I think that will.
Thank you. I have a couple questions.
Sure.
Just curious, you talk about contaminants found in your organic process. Is it more from the commercial district, or is it just homeowners not, kind of hoping for residue compost?
Yeah, great question. So so folks who use our drop-off centers and bring their food scraps there do a great job. There's very, very little contamination in the material that homeowners, residents are dropping off. Where we're seeing contaminants, unfortunately, we're seeing a lot of it from schools. So we're seeing a lot of milk cartons. We're seeing wrappers and chip bags, things of that nature from schools. It's hard to know which school. So this will also, this policy will help us to have the hauler have another tool to narrow down which school is being problematic, but also from some commercial sources as well. So it wouldn't be milk or juice boxes, but it would be things like bags, plastic bags, the occasional bag of garbage is found in there. There are occasionally some things that are probably because a cart might be left on the curb and someone might walk by and toss something in. There's, the occasional textile, there's the occasional medical waste. So there's, things that, for example, might be being grabbed and combined or consolidated by custodial staff. So there might be trash from a restroom mixed in with bags of food scraps. So it's a variety of things, and it's not all the time. So we want to be able to really target those loads, but we are seeing a lot of milk cartons.
That's not good.
No.
Now, I understand the,
Quick follow-up on that. So
Sure.
it sounds like the contamination policy is simply to charge the haulers, who will then push that charge back to their consumers. How is there anything in place? How will they identify? Well, that is the idea that will then motivate the haulers to figure out, to look at what they're collecting more closely, so the contaminants won't make it into the system.
So haulers are charged with providing information to their customers about how to properly prepare materials for disposal. But what we really want to do is we also hired someone specifically to do load checks. So we've already been testing the system for the past several months, and this is where we're getting a lot more of our data. So she's been on board for almost a year now. And so every time she's out there inspecting a load, she, will pull the driver aside and say, hey, this is what we're talking about. This is unacceptable. Do you have an idea of where this has come from? With the goal being that we can then report that back to Jen's team, to the education folks, who can do direct outreach to, ABC company and saying, just so you know, this is not acceptable. And should this contamination policy be implemented, you could potentially receive, the hauler's fine as a surcharge. And so we want to avoid that. We don't want to be charging anybody. Really what we're looking for, we're not talking about kind of necessarily incidental, it's repeat problems.
I work in a high school. I've seen the compost bin. I'm aware of what you're talking about.
Yeah, so you can empathize. And oftentimes in schools, it's we have a great relationship with custodial staff, and we have a great relationship with green teams. So it's just kind of reinvigorating that and bringing in photos and saying this came from your school, and we can tell because there was an envelope from the school that did. And we don't want to penalize. We just want cleaner stuff.
yeah, you guys are always really good about being conservative on your budgets and really run a tight ship. But curious, I understand the change in moving some of the capital expenses to the operating expenses, which is part of your increase in your equipment and that. Could you give us an example of what kind of stuff you're talking about that,
Sure. Yes, exactly. So we made this change a few years ago where we realized that we were capitalizing far, far too much. And which meant that we were having to depreciate far too many things and things that were not really long-term assets, but were short-term, either that same year or within maybe 2 years. A good example of that is we go through quite a lot of roll-off boxes, roll-off containers. Every year we're buying another set of containers. They're heavily used, they get beat up, and they have, you know, a certain lifespan. And we were capitalizing those, even though they have a very short lifespan for us, short for us. So that was deemed by our finance director, that really is an operational expense. That's something that we are routinely buying year after year, as part of the normal everyday operations. And they, you know, our capital threshold is $5,000, which was very, very low. So we increased that to $25,000 to really make, you know, put a focus on, is this a long-term asset that we want to depreciate over time? So something like the roll-off boxes, which are about $5,000 to $6,000, really was not seen as necessarily a long-term asset. So that's an example of something that moved into you know, annual operations versus long-term capital.
Thank you. Any other questions from the select board?
I don't have any.
Nope. Well, what you need to do then is make a motion to accept the budget for the Chittenden Solid Waste District.
I'll make a motion to accept the budget of the Chittenden Solid Waste District.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much for your presentation and
Thank
see you
you.
next year.
You betcha. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is Black Walnut Lane. HOA Public Roads Request.
So I'm Jim Colelli, by the way, from Black Walnut Lane.
Oh.
This is Kevin Gaffney, also from Maplebrook Lane, which
Part of the
is a
same
little- yeah,
association.
part of the same association. So
And Peter Anderson's also here.
I thought it was Peter.
Peter, welcome.
Thank you very much, I think.
So Bill Toppings is the president of the Master Association for Black Walnut, and he unfortunately was called out of town on business at the last moment. And he asked me to stand in, and I asked my friend Kevin to join. I'm an officer of the Master Association. I'm also the president of Hillside Commons Association within Black Walnut. There's actually 3 separate homeowners associations that make up the Master. And so we've been working with John for 3 years now, something like that.
Could only be 2.5.
Okay, 2.5. Rounds up to 3. I think we've assessed that, you've told us that we're now the gold standard in town for meeting all of the requirements for the town to be able to take over the road. You know, we brought this motion forward quite some time ago. It's been
That's
in
right.
consideration. I wasn't sure if you asked to add it to the agenda or if Bill asked to add it to the agenda
Bill.
today, but
Bill actually did.
Okay.
As part of our ongoing discussion, and as usual, his emphasis was on like, where are we time-wise and what can we do to accelerate the process?
right. So obviously, we're looking for the town to take over the care of the road. We are currently paying to have it maintained out of our own pockets. Even though we're paying, you know, the full level of taxes that everyone else that does receive this level of service for a standard meeting road is also paying. So another consideration is, you know, there's quite a few elderly and disabled people in the neighborhood, and we worry about emergency vehicle access and that sort of thing during the winter. The road is less than a half a mile long. It's got a turnaround at the end. That you probably have the exact number. Maybe it's more like a quarter of a mile.
I don't actually.
And there are 29 homes on the road. You know, so I'm estimating we're paying quite a bit more than $250,000 annual taxes into the town. And we'd really just like to get our road plowed.
Yeah,
So
so
that's kind of the discussion.
Yeah, Kevin Gaffney, and I guess just to add to that, I've almost 10 years now resident of Jericho and love the town. And I do remember because we built it in 2014. And when talking to Gardner Construction, you know, that was what the message they conveyed is that this road won't be public until we finalize the development, and we have to get the road to town specs. And I think we've, you know, it was our understanding that we're there now. We've gotten the road, and unless we hear otherwise, we've gotten that road in that condition. It's the width and the hammerhead at the top for emergency vehicles and plows. It exists, and all the runoff and inspections all have been done. So, yeah, so here we are, you know, we're kind of at that point where, and there are, I didn't think of that, Jim, but we do have, you know, two residents that are, you know, wheelchair bound. So, and one does operate, you know, a vehicle. So we just want to make sure that the roads are in the condition they need to be for people to operate safely especially in our winter months.
Like, we can't do any, obviously, you know, say anything about it tonight. But we have to have the engineer look at the road to make sure it does meet the specs. That has been done.
Yeah, he's done an initial assessment.
So does he need to do?
So do you have other things that you want?
Well, it says, basically, we also have to look at the 3-acre stormwater because that's the biggie right there, because obviously the roads are, you have a certain amount of impervious surface just with the construction of the homes and things like that. And then if the town took it over, then we're responsible for that certain amount of impervious surface ourselves. So there would be the 3-acre permit. If, you know, we'd have to look in to see whether we're obligated. Is there 3 acres worth of impervious surface or not? I mean, that's a biggie right there. Because we're dealing with Jericho East right now, because on that, where the town has a certain responsibility because of the roads there.
Oh, there's gotta be.
Oh, I think, yeah.
Yeah, there's well over. It's 4 to 1 impervious,
Yeah.
at least.
So what do they need to do?
Yeah,
Because of thank you. I mean, we've been talking about this for 3 years.
Well, right now, we have to look at, to see what the impervious surface, you know, issue will be for the town. And
But they don't need to do anything. They're waiting for us.
that's where they're waiting on us,
And
basically.
and
Big-
what's reasonable, what's reasonable in terms of a turnaround time for them to,
There we go.
Yeah.
So if it's,
I mean, if
I
it's 4 to
really
1.
I need to go to like a VLCT thing on the
Yeah.
3-acre storm
Yeah.
thing. If we were to take over the road, wouldn't we only have to worry about the 3 acre, whether the road itself equaled
Right.
up to 3 acres?
No, if the whole system, including the roads, are more than 3 acres,
What does system mean?
all the homes and all the
So
roads,
impervious surface is defined by.
Driveways.
roof,
Yeah, yeah.
So they would
driveway,
know, they're either paying the 3-acre thing or not, right? And so you are,
if they have an updated stormwater permit. Obviously, a lot of
right? I
homeowners.
assume it went
We do
in,
have-
well, I guess I don't know when was 3-acre thing?
I mean, because see, a lot of communities, I mean, that's what Williston has been going through for the last quite a few years when the 3-acre permit came into thing. There's a lot of homeowners associations where their permits were way out of date
Hmm.
and they had to update
I
them.
think
But you're saying yours is-
inspection was done.
Mhm.
Last year.
So you have good
Okay.
storm.
So that,
So then our only, then whatever the road adds to it, or takes, if the roads are part of it right now, because you have this, then we would know how much our part would be, because we are only responsible for the roads.
Okay, so the parcel itself, let's say the neighborhood qualifies for this 3-acre zone thing. We were to take over the road, then you would split, and let's say the road was 2 acres and the rest of it was 3, so we would have to pay 2/5 of the
Yes,
stormwater?
yes,
My gosh.
yes,
Um,
because it's about a quarter of Jericho East,
mhm.
I think, is the last numbers I heard a long time ago
Okay,
for the,
do we,
No.
Do you all know where the road is?
It's not that dissimilar. The
Yeah.
public road across the street on Packard is Starboard,
Yeah.
right? So right there is Black Walnut,
Yeah,
and I know I walked Starboard, so
This is exactly a half a mile.
that's a half a mile,
Yeah,
right?
I lived right there for 28
Right.
years.
and so is Starboard, I should probably know the answer to this and I don't, so don't roast me for this.
Starboard's a town club.
It is a town
Oh,
road.
yeah,
Okay.
Has been since I moved here in '93.
yeah, there's multiple bus stops on it. And then there's a bus stop at the corner of Packard and Black Walnut.
So if we were to turn that, if we were to approve and make this a town road, does the bus start going down there now? Is that what that means? Or does it have nothing to do with it?
Because I think they.
The school
the
bus.
Kids walk down to
Yeah.
the Packard.
Yeah, it has nothing to do
The
with.
school bus can do whatever they want.
Yeah,
Yeah, but it doesn't have.
Right. I mean, they don't have to, us being a town road doesn't mean they have to go down. School says buses
Yeah.
go here.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I get that this sounds like meets all other than figuring out what the stormwater impact is to us. It does sound like it meets all the requirements to take over a road. I think as a select board and as a town, we own doing some work and figuring out how we go about doing that. And so that's probably, the hesitation isn't on anything you guys haven't done or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
But boy, it's,
I
you know, we have a hard time keeping our road crew staff. We have a hard time paying for trucks. Like every time, like we just get done doing a budget and the road crew comes in, like, you're not gonna believe what we got, you know? So like doing these types of things are,
But that's paid for by the taxpayers. right?
Yeah.
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 Yeah, well,
Yeah.
There's 29.
29 taxpayers there that are
Yeah, we have
contributing to all that.
we have a
Sure,
substantial
but
amount of
there's-
private
but there's-
roads. and-
There might be 50 other ones coming in and
Yeah.
all of a sudden our fleet needs to double, you know, so I get it.
Yeah.
It's totally reasonable
Yeah, yeah.
request. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
we don't. I personally don't know how to handle all of that. And that's probably the main reason for my hesitation. Like, you add
Yeah.
one road. Maybe it
No,
doesn't
'cause
change
we
too
have a
much, but
substantial-
boy,
We have quite a few
Fun.
miles of private road,
we have how many?
quite a few miles. It's
Right,
a substantial
exactly.
amount. And some of them are smaller, in the 18 feet rather than meeting the standards that our public works are. Of course, we're in the process of updating this public works, so there's going to be, it's more than just one size fits all. So that's also going to change
Yeah.
what you're thinking about. But the only thing they will have to do, we have to do our homework. And then what they have to do is if we decide to do it, they have to provide us with right-of-way easements and the deeds conveyed for that.
Can we talk him into buying us a plow truck?
So
For every half-mile road, you gotta buy us half a plow truck. I don't know. But like, I'm joking, but like, but it's really, that's my concern. And we have it on our list of like, we need to do this, whether you are applying for this or not. We need to figure out
Yeah.
how we handle that.
Totally understand and no disrespect, but that's what we've been hearing for 3 years.
I know.
Yeah.
So what I'd like to leave here with at least is a checkpoint date where we can come back that you've answered the questions you need to answer and then we can,
So it's
continue the
taken
discussion.
3 years. So at
So we
that
congratulate
rate,
on that. So
9 years, we should have something.
my question is, does the town have to take over your road if you've met the marks, or can we say like, yeah, we don't want
That
to?
was part of what was filed, I believe, when the development.
We have to look into that because
That's-
technically,
I
the
talked to Charlotte at Secret recently, 2 hours ago. And that was part of the plot plan and development.
Was that when the DRB
Yeah.
said, yep,
Yeah.
they include and that was a town.
yeah, because see, the town was not taking over roads then.
No, I understand. My
Yeah.
question is not about the history so much,
Yeah.
just about like where do we all stand? So
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
if the DRB stamped the thing saying when X, Y, and Z are met, the town will take over the road, then I feel like the conversation's
Right.
over. They've met the
Right.
marks. we have to
Right.
take
And the
over the road.
condition was not just done and leave, but to put the road in, do the final surface, so that.
Yeah,
this
yeah.
This road, in terms of like future costs, this road is in better
It's
condition
in good
than
shape.
any of the roads in that area, by far.
Yeah, no, because you had
Yeah, I
done,
know.
you had done some
So,
work
what
on
I'm
it.
saying in
Yeah.
terms of future maintenance, this is a
Yeah.
a new vehicle.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, so basically, we just have to, have some discussion, but I would
Right.
imagine this before the end of maybe, I don't know, can we say plow season? I don't know.
If I was sitting on that side of the
It's our
room,
third- it's our third
if I was sitting on that side of the room, I would get the stuff the DRB said yes to and walk up here and throw it in our faces and say, take over my road.
Yeah, I mean, 'cause we had to do that.
If we've
But so-
agreed to it,
But can you help me explain that piece again a little bit? I'm slow. So what was promised? You said you talked to somebody.
Here with this-
No, but you said you talked to somebody a couple hours ago and
Yeah,
they said what?
Develop this.
Okay.
And the developer, when they filed their plan, the plan was that this, once completed, and once the road was in public, road specs, including, water, wastewater, stormwater runoff, road conditions, and John's been up there, he's seen the road, we've had the state engineers there, we've had the.
I'm interested in what was
Once it
promised.
Completed, it was going to be taken over.
Once
So the DRB
construction was done in the neighborhood.
But
Yeah,
does the DRB have authority to
You're
say,
asking me who?
No.
I'm not gonna say who, I
right,
don't wanna speak to who has the authority. All I
Right.
know is what was filed.
Right.
right.
Yeah, because it's only the select board that has the authority.
Right.
But White Oak was a road years ago that was developed with the idea that eventually the town would take over. And so it sat there for years and it never met the rules, but finally we had to. They did, and we took it over.
I mean, my question would be like, why would it be any different than Starboard?
Right.
That's the question.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's totally fair. Like, and
Totally
so
fair.
how did Starboard?
Sorry, Jim. It's their turn. Peter?
Yeah, I just want to give you a little bit of history. Maybe I'm one of the elderly people who's on Gardner Construction. Are the ones that did this development. They started with these units on Packard Road.
2008.
My understanding is the town or whoever has that say wouldn't allow this last unit to be facing Packard Road. And so they made it come around this corner. And Black Walnut Lane then continued on. So this unit is actually part of these other two condo units. Then there's 8 units here, which is the association that I'm part of. And so this was started in 2008.
Yeah.
We purchased our unit, which is right here, in 2011. So I've been there since 2011. And I was told by the gardeners that Black Walnut Lane was being built to all of the specifications that the town required so that it would be taken over once the development was complete. The problem was that the gardeners had plans to continue to build
Right.
more units here and so on. And so they wouldn't put a finish coat on the road because they were having more construction going on. While the years went by and the years went by, we've been listening to construction since 2008. There's still construction going on. There's a new house going in here right now, and there's another house that's going to be going in up here. There's another lot to be sold there. There's a lot over here, I believe, was sold, but no construction has started on that.
Wow, that's a lot of units.
The town wouldn't take the road over. This is the story that we got until there was a finish coat on the road. So I worked with the Development Review Board, and I can't remember the name of the person who was in charge working with the town for that. And over a period of months and months of emails back and forth, finally got the Development Review Board to put a requirement on the construction company, the gardeners, that by such and such a date, they had to put a finish coat on the road and they had to do all the tree plantings that were part of that project.
Wow. Good.
And the money was put in escrow. So that if they didn't comply by that date, then the town would use that money to do the paving themselves. This is the history behind all of this. So finally, the top coat was done. I didn't have time to grab all of my records and look up the dates because I didn't find out about this meeting until dinner time tonight. So, but it's probably been 4 years or so since the road was paved. And so we complied, we couldn't, so that was the other thing, you couldn't have the master association until those things were done. And the master association couldn't ask the town to pave the road until they were formed. So it was like all these dominoes, and it took me months to work to get all of that in place. And finally, the road was paved, the master association was formed. The master association requested that the town would take over the road. And that's been going on
For 3 years.
3 years now. And the question is, what's the holdup? Why isn't this happening? So that's the history behind that. And some of the pieces that needed to fall into place and that we worked on.
Yeah, I definitely get the history and I appreciate that. I appreciate the history
History's
lesson
very nice,
and
yeah.
I understand that it's probably frustrating to hear us say, but my concern is not about Black Walnut. It's about what we couldn't do 100 of them this year. We just couldn't do it, you know, and so I just don't know. But is it fair could you come back in June to give us a couple select board meetings to like think through our questions and do some research on them and
Through Bill, John has Bill's contact information, but happy to do any research we need to do.
I mean, I just threw out June. I don't know how they feel, obviously, but like, it seems like
Yeah.
June
Yeah.
gives me,
Right.
I guess it's technically that's only 2 select board meetings. Maybe the second one in June, so we get 3 select board meetings.
That's too late, right? What's
Yeah.
the date of the second one?
Oh,
20th, okay.
This is tentative, right? Who knows what's gonna happen between now and June, but.
Yeah,
So
right.
we get 2
We
in
don't know.
May. It looks like the first one in May will be the 6th, so the second one would be the 20th. Could we tentatively just
June.
pencil you in to like,
The second one in June.
and probably all we'll do is give you an answer of when we can give you the next answer by then.
What's the date?
June 20th.
June 20.
June 20.
Thank you.
But, you know, it gives us time to check with the zoning administrator and what the DRB
I'll
filings were and
try
things
to
like
just-
that.
No,
I mean,
some of
'cause
my
that's-
questions that I have now that,
Right.
Paula has her hand up. She probably has some insight.
Yes,
Go ahead,
yeah.
Paula.
All right, Jim, you have 3 minutes.
No, Paula.
Oh, Paula
I think
has
Paula's gonna be first.
first, okay.
Hi, guys.
didn't-
I did reach out to VLCT late today and asked them, and spoke to an attorney about the process of taking over a town road. They did send me quite a bit of information. I didn't get to print it out or look at it quite in depth, but there is a process and it doesn't seem to be complicated, but I can definitely share that with the 3 of you. And so that way you can at least have that information as to how to start going about taking over the road.
Yeah, and I believe, is it
Mhm.
is it public knowledge that we're getting a new road foreman or not? I guess it
No.
is.
now.
Okay. So good for us to.
You're not very good at this, are you?
I mean, I heard the start date, so I think it might be good to like give us a chance to chat with the new road foreman.
Yes, we will be getting a new road foreman May 5th, May 6th, I think
Yeah.
it is. We
So
finally got one hired.
they might have some, be able to answer some questions, you know, like,
Yeah.
like my question to them is gonna be like, okay, look, let's say we add Black Walnut, how much does that add to your time for plowing? How much salt does that add? How much
Well,
wear and tear in your vehicle? Like,
well, we also have to look at the impact fees.
Well, yeah, we know that, yeah.
Yeah.
And so,
I don't think I'm ever gonna be the expert on that 3 acre zoning one, so that might need to go to one of you guys, but. But I can understand like truck depreciation and salt and whatever. So.
and I had significant conversation with Adam, our outgoing road foreman, and our town engineer Tyler. Specifically about Black Walnut, and a couple of the, aside from not having an updated. Road specification.
So old.
Criteria for taking it over. There were other questions asked about, so in regard to road right of ways and things in your neighborhood that may be within those road right of ways. The town does not want to be responsible for maintaining trees, should they be within the right of way. I know there's two significant swales of significant size for stormwater retention. And the town, again, wouldn't want to assume ownership for ongoing maintenance of those. So those can all be managed contractually, and you know, we've already acknowledged the need to for surveys to get easements from neighbors for maintenance of the road right of way. So all those pieces have been identified. I think I can speak for myself. Outside of having a full-time road foreman, who's typically the person who advances these kinds of requests, applies the criteria for taking them over. It really has not been as high a priority as we would like to. We're a small shop trying to do a lot of work.
I appreciate, do a lot of work here.
And I do appreciate
For the town.
every time I've had this discussion, I've gotten another nugget of historic information that helps.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, you know, the part that you're discussing about bringing the road up to spec, that's a requirement and expectation. I don't think it's an imperative that the town respond. Just because you did your due diligence in doing so. You know, as far as I've known, the town hasn't taken over a private road for over 10-12 years now.
Oh, at least, yeah, other than the
And-
the only one that I remember being was White Oak, because it was part of their development when that was done.
And that said,
But again, it was the top coat, it had to do with the road condition when we took it over.
and it's not because there hasn't been a willingness, at least at this point with this board and with the town road foreman at the time. I think it's really been a function of transition, trying to get the requirements firmed up and identified, and then being able to negotiate all the other pieces with you around shared ownership. 3 acre stormwater is a big one. The good news there moving forward is I've been working with the Jericho East HOA and the McGrath HOA. And the big question was, I mean, it's very expensive to maintain these permits. You have to have stormwater engineers, you have to look at updating or implementing catchment and retention if you don't currently have it. And the state started a program this fall, it's called POA, permit obtainment. Can't remember what the A is, but basically it's a pot of money that HOAs can apply to get the engineering costs covered for doing that work. So the state recognized that they were gonna place an undue financial burden on HOAs and municipalities that have these shared permits. So that's what I've got.
All right, Jim, we,
Just to give you a couple quick things.
very quick, because we have changed the
I
rules.
understand.
Okay,
Big discussion here tonight. This is a big issue. There's 3 things. One, I think I was at the meeting when the policy was made, and I think Dawn was on the select board when the town decided to go out of the business of taking on private roads. And so the reason that the town spec is there is, and I own one of these. The reason the spec is there is for public safety. And that this is probably not a bad thing to study But theoretically, if everything's being done correctly, the assessments of properties that have expenses related to these types of services are actually lower than properties that have the services. And because one of the things you look at when you're buying something is, how much are you paying for this? So I would just caution anybody that thinks they're already paying for something and they're entitled to something from the pot. That may not be true. So this is complicated because the assessment issue, and then one of the reasons why the town went out of this business was because it was so tedious and stuff to actually get the stuff done correctly. So in order, if I want to have a road taken over, I have to post a significant bond for any defects that occur. And the road has to be fully compliant at both the A&R level and the town level. And so this, I'm just suggesting, I don't think this is something that an employee or the select board can do without someone doing the research to figure out, because this stuff is, and I would love you to just do it. Because I got one of these where I can hand it to you tomorrow.
See, Jim's coming right behind you. That's our problem, right?
So, but I'm just saying is put the constructive parts face up on the table.
Okay.
If in
Yeah.
fact you're spending $20,000, $30,000 a year as a HOA, if the assessments are being done correctly and the allocation of expenses, you're gonna start paying that in increased property taxes. So, but the town can also go the way some of the other towns are and not take over the roads for maintenance and all that other stuff and just contract to run their plows and sanding and stuff up and down the road. So there may be a middle road here. I just suggest that you put someone that's familiar with all this stuff together and people that have an interest in it and get a report so that you don't go through 3 years of having conversations and people don't know where they are. Because I was at the meeting when the decision was made to go out of this business. I won't take you through it, but I think Don was there. And I heard very strongly why he wanted to do it. It's not a simple question. It's not a simple answer. And I would encourage you to, because if you want to be in this business, I'd be happy to be there with everybody.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Jim. So here we are, but it's true. It's not going to be just a simple select board decision. Paul has looked at the stuff and we have to then check with the engineer and things like that.
We do appreciate your patience. I know
We do,
it's frustrating waiting on town stuff.
Yeah.
The attorneys-
Things move a little
there will be
slow.
attorneys involved.
Yeah, there will be attorneys involved. That's right. There's always attorneys involved. But you'll be interested to know that the fire department wants us to take over all the roads.
All the new ones.
All the new ones. Because people don't maintain like you have.
And the highway department's not opposed. They would much prefer to be plowing paved roads and dirt roads.
Right. That's true.
Far safer too. Yeah.
Oh, boy. In fact, dirt roads are a real bear this year.
I mean, that's what I look at every day is I look at our road and I look at Packard. How can the heck have they covered north side?
Yeah, this is true.
Look at your road.
The ironies of small towns and what road crews used to do and not do. Well, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate the keeping us in the
Is there
loop.
something formal we need to do to get on the June 20th agenda then, or is that?
We took a note.
now done?
I took a note.
I don't know.
Yeah, hey,
That-
Paula, let's put them on the 20th agenda, June.
I got it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Formality achieved.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Keep the wet. Yeah.
That's right. All right, we're going to now talk about transition towns with Dave Cliff and the 2024 request for the kids' gardens.
Thank you. I left Paula some sheets to add into your packets.
Oh, yeah, I think we got 'em.
So where we start, I think that we don't need to get any lawyers involved in this process.
Right.
Be surprised.
I already like.
Way to butter them up, Dave.
I'm Dave Clift. I'm part of the founding coordinators of Transition Town Jericho. Peter, I don't know if you know.
Yep.
about the organization.
Yes, I do, quite a bit. Yeah.
But last 2 years, in conjunction with the town, sponsored the what we call the Kids Garden Contest, and it's a basic project to get kids involved in gardening. And each year, we have provided 10 4x6 foot raised bed gardens for kids. They just have to go online and fill out an application. We call it a contest because we want kids to put a little effort into it and not just sign up for it. And so we're attempting to do it again this year, and we come to the town to ask for $1,100 to help us with the costs. And these are the hard costs of the garden soil that comes from the creative gardens up the street, and then the raised garden beds that we get supplies from Jericho Hardware. There are also costs that that Transition Town Jericho puts in the gas to get the the gardens disseminated around the town. The time and effort around putting those together and coordinating the effort and so forth with all the kids and their parents. On page 2 is just an overview of the 2023 contest results. A couple of pictures of the kids that were involved and some input from them on what they believed was important for them around their taste and stories that they'd like to share with their garden experience and so forth. When we deliver the gardens, we make sure that the kids understand that the town has a big piece of this project, and hopefully you've been getting some thank you notes from them.
Yeah, we have. We have.
So the request is for this year is $1,100, again, to help offset the hard costs of the project. And we'd love to see what you think.
Well, I understand from my, Bill, that the Food Hub farmers were very excited about this project.
Yes.
That because, it starts people wanting to have fresh produce, and here's young farmers and, but they were very excited that you were doing this project.
Yeah, we're very pleased with the farmers' response to this project, and they're actually wanting to get involved in helping us out. I have to borrow a trailer and to get the soil delivered, and got all kinds of offers up for, letting me use some of their trucks and their trailers and so forth. So that's really appreciative.
That's fabulous.
It really is. It's very exciting. Bill came home. He said it was just a very energizing meeting with the farmers.
Yeah, they are very energizing people.
Yeah. The other thing I'm going to suggest that you do this year is that in the fall, when we're putting the budgets together, you come in and say, I would like to be part of the non-mandated outside agencies, and this is how much we're going to ask for this year. And that way you don't have to do this every spring. It's, it's all done it's in the budget. But I mean, I think that this is a good thing, and when Costco has in their monthly magazine, because it's the dirt section, talking about how important it is for people to grow their vegetables, how invested they get when they grow their own. I mean, that shows how important it is to get started at a young age.
So I'd make a motion to allocate or to approve the request for $1,100 to the Transition Towns in support of their gardening contest.
I plan on seconding that, but I have one clarification first, not that it matters that much. Will it come out of our current budget or next year's budget?
It'll probably come out of this year's because they need
Does
to
he
do.
need it now?
Need it
I assume?
now.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
Okay, so it doesn't affect the budget that we just
No,
passed.
no,
so
no.
I second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you very much.
So you'll make a note to put that when we start building the budget in the fall, to put in a request, so it's
Yes,
just
that's
part of the.
what time, November, October?
Yeah, I'm starting October. In fact is, we're gonna talk, Gaze. That's part of the town meeting reimagined kind of idea, and there was, they came up with some great ideas, and one of them is to have a big event in the fall.
Budget event?
Yeah. So Gay's gonna talk about that, but.
Next.
In my annual appeal, can you teach those kids to weed?
Yeah.
Remember,
Yeah.
My kids did it, I think the inaugural year.
Parents have to have some value in this.
Man, I did more weeding that summer than any summer prior.
Yeah.
Just
We
put down
love the
mulch,
vegetables.
just put down the mulch.
Yeah, same here.
Newspaper.
This is the first year I didn't, I'm not doing a garden.
I don't
I
even-
just
You
so
know, I just
overwhelmed with it.
Open up a little space in my mulch,
Yeah.
put the can in, put the mulch back around. And I never have to more mulch. It's, it's all leaves, grass from the clippings.
Yeah.
We start with newspaper
Newspaper works.
and then
great. Yep,
grass clippings on top.
so you don't even have to.
Thank you.
Thank you,
See you.
Dave. Have a good evening. Next on the agenda is review and consider approval of the CCR Board, CCRPC PAC Planning Advisory Committee, the TAC, the Transportation Advisory Committee, and the Clean Water Advisory Committee appointments. And what we have is they call it the Board of Directors or the Board of the Chittenden, and I'm up for renewal there, so I will continue to be on that. But there is no alternative. And for the Transportation Advisory Committee, I think, wasn't Linda interested, part of that? I mean, well, I have a question for Linda.
Paul, can you hear?
Yes, I can.
Did Linda say anything about wanting to be involved in the Transportation Advisory Committee?
She didn't say anything to me, but I can definitely ask her if she'd be interested in it.
Yeah, because Wayne took that on because Catherine didn't like it and Catherine stayed with the PAC.
Yep.
But, given Linda's background, I would think that the TAC fits what she knows a lot, really well.
Okay.
Plus, it's where you learn about a lot of different grants.
Okay.
So I would ask her for that. Again, there's an alternative that needed. Tom Jocelyn, we should vote to reappoint to the Clean Water Advisory Committee. Correct, Tom? Yeah, okay. And then the PAC, which is the Planning Advisory Committee, Catherine was there. I don't think we've had anybody there since Wayne has left. What?
Captain Sonic.
Yeah. And then Wayne was Wayne also was an alternate there, but so if any other members are interested or sometimes we've had DRB members or Planning Commission members on the PAC if nobody else is interested.
So that was my question, was who can Gay do this? Like, can anyone in town do, who does this?
Typically, the Planning Advisory Committee is either town planners or somebody that is from the Planning Commission. The QUAC, which is the Clean Water Advisory Committee, is typically people who are into water quality or public works. And the TAC is, again, town planners or people who are transportation engineers, things like that.
Okay, so Board of Directors is gonna be you.
Yeah, but we could have a select board as a back, because they prefer the board to be select board or council members, if at all possible.
Okay. And then the Clean Water is gonna be Tom,
Yep,
and we don't know about Linda and the transportation
right,
or the planner.
right.
And do we need to do this tonight?
We should do some, they're due, when does Emma want these? Oh, by May 31st. So we have time to think about it, but we can do those that we know of tonight. And then look to get alternatives or actual members for the other ones at our first of the May meeting. So since we know that I will be reappointed, because I got a whole lot of board development stuff to do this summer. That,
Okay, so do you want a motion to rename you or to extend your, what, just?
yeah, reappoint me to the,
Board of Directors.
board of directors, and then Tom to the quack.
Okay, so I'll make, I don't know. I'll make a motion to appoint Catherine McMains to the board of directors for the CCRPC.
And can we combine those into one?
And
Tom
Tom Jocelyn to the Clean Water Advisory Committee.
And I'll second that.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
And then we'll find out about
So what work needs to happen between, because we need to get this figured out between now and.
the first
the next
meeting, May.
The first
Yes.
meeting that we need to.
Yeah.
Do the.
Yeah, I sent you all the
Talk to
stuff that
people.
all those committees do, so you can actually peruse it to see if you really are interested.
Yep.
Or whether we need to go to the,
Some planning commission or whatever.
right, or Linda, or
Yep.
if she's interested. Next is the review and consider approval of the Chittenden Solid Waste District Representative and Alternative. Leslie Nolte wants to continue to be the representative, and Tom Jocelyn is the alternate.
I have no concerns there.
So
I'll make a motion to approve Leslie Nolte as the primary and Tom Jocelyn as the secondary to the Chittenden Solid Waste District.
Second.
all those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you, guys. And good night.
Thank you. Thanks for doing it.
Yes,
Good job.
thank you, Leslie.
Very welcome. Good work.
Oh, you do the good work on the finances at the solid waste. So like, I think you're still involved in that one.
I am for my sins.
I
Anyway,
like seeing their finances. It's kind of cool. This is, you don't really think about it,
That's right.
it's a heavy lift, I will tell you. It's never simple.
I bet, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the presentations are always simple and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again. Have a good evening.
Same to
Thank
you. Take care. Now, we have, before we start our we're almost to the updates where, which is what Gay is here for. This one is review and consider the Chittenden County Sheriff's contract contest.
Did anything change in this other than the hourly rate?
No,
Yeah, I read that. I was curious. It said it raised up to 70, but I didn't have it immediately available what it was before.
65.
when we started a long time ago, the sheriff was at $40 an hour,
Mm-hmm.
but it's still less than the
State police.
state police, and the state police can only add up to 8 hours a
Right.
week. And the last year they were $88 an hour. And this year we don't know what they're going to be and whether they'll even be able to give 8 hours.
And if we get it, and I'll admit, I'm looking at this for the first time in this contract. Is there a number of hours?
They
that
do,
they're committing to, or is it just whatever they can give us?
no, they give us 40 hours.
40 hours a week.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, and we've, early on ran the numbers, and it's still a bargain to have the sheriff do it, because if you had to buy your own police department,
Oh, I know.
and we'd only be able to afford one with a car, and so you're still not gonna get more than 40 hours, and you're still gonna be paying as much, if not more. I mean, because Richmond has still not been able to, they share a chief with Heinsberg, and I don't know, at one point they had 0 officers.
I make a motion to approve the FY 2025 Chittenden County Sheriff's contract.
I second that.
Eric, can you hand that to Catherine to sign? And this is that's the left.
Just her on that, on both these.
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay. And then,
Did we do all those in favor or
No.
we did not do all in favor.
That's right.
Sidetrack.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay. Next is the liquor licenses, and we have several requests to cater. We have 1 second class and 1 tobacco, 2 tobacco.
Straightforward, I assume, nothing.
No, the only reason we're saying the Jericho Center store twice, one is because one's tobacco, one's second class. But we also approved earlier, and that was the new owners. Because they thought they would be closing in April, but they're not gonna close till May, so the current owners have to renew theirs. So that
Gotcha.
there isn't any break in covering beer and wine and stuff like that.
All right, here we go. I will make a motion to approve the request to cater alcohol at Mount Mansfield Barn, one for April 26th from noon to 11 p.m. and one for April 27th from noon to 11 p.m. For Griffin Riders.
For a frat party.
Yeah. All those,
I will second, I suppose.
all those in favor say aye.
Aye. Yeah, I wonder if I'm assuming it's probably not the same one because he's got more people going to his frat party than are coming to the
Right.
wedding. So. Then I will go, I make a motion to approve the request for a second class license for Jericho Center Country Store, doing business as Jericho Center Country Store.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
I
Aye.
make a motion to approve the tobacco license for Jericho Center Country Store.
Second. Oh, sorry, and Dollar and.
Oh, and thank you, and Dollar General.
Second.
So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you very much. We will see Kate's food truck in May because they want to sell now spirituous liquors, i.e. margaritas, to get that third class license. Next is select board updates, and the town meeting reimagined task force met in person for its first meeting on April 11th, and the committee member Jennifer Nauer set up a doodle poll so that we all could, find a date that was most members could attend in person. And 3 members of the DEI committee, including Maria, were able to make that one. So what was there was a lot of good energy. They discussed their charges. And by the end of the meeting, co-chairs Gay Symington and Dave Barrington were chosen. And I attended, I essentially got the first meeting set up and then attended that. But thought it would be good for the board and the public to hear from Gay to start the process because she, as co-chair and with Dave will be at more meetings than I will be at. So come talk to all of these good things that are happening there because there was really great energy.
Yeah, there was great energy in the room. There were people who couldn't come to that first meeting, Tom being one of them. And there also are a few people who are joined committees since then.
Oh, good.
So it's a good group of folks, and I can read you the names we have, but what we're planning to do is behave as if we're covered by the town, whatever it's called, the open meeting laws, even though we technically aren't because it's a task force. We are calling ourselves the Town Meeting Reimagined Task Force, TMR Task Force. And our hope is to come up with a pretty solid framework for you to consider at that June, that's why I know the date of the June 20th meeting, the second June meeting.
They're moving.
We wouldn't have, there'd be plenty more work to do, but our hope is to have a
Framework to approve, just to, yeah.
And we're hoping to meet 5 or 6 times between now and then. So it's not going to be once a month at a regular time. We're now doing another round of doodle polling. And at the next meeting, we'll choose all those further dates. We are going to meet again on April 29th at 6:30, and we'll probably meet at Deborah Rawson Library because the bike ped folks will already have this room. We've got good people who can help with technology, so we're, you know, a generation younger than I am. So
Or me.
they've been really helpful in that respect. We are posting our minutes. Beth Esmond is volunteered to be the secretary. And she's got the minutes, I think, posted, or draft minutes anyway.
Posted where?
So Sabina's putting it on the website.
Where on the website, you know?
She's gonna have her own, they're
Town
gonna,
meeting reimagine
Yeah,
button.
we'll have
Yeah.
a little button.
yeah.
So I thought I would, I'm not gonna just read the minutes, but I thought I would just give you a sense of what we're talking about. We talked a lot about, well, Catherine had the motions. We passed 2 motions on town meeting day. We read those. There was a lot of discussion about, however we design whatever meetings we have for the town, we want to continue to build or go back to, or depending on your frame of reference, have a meeting that people think of as a community event. That there's lots of that we would be working on thinking through, how do we ensure there's a lot of participation here? And what does that mean to folks on the committee? And some of it is technical, you know, it's a meeting in person and hybrid to the extent that we can. There's some issues to resolve there. If people are voting through a hybrid mechanism, we want to understand how that works. As we talked, one of the things that I began to hear that I hadn't fully understood up front was the DEI committee, part of the DEI's committee's strong recommendation is that we think hard about the beginning of the budget process, and that we create an event or create focus around the select board is beginning to work on the budget process. So come to the select board up front with what you're looking for out of this meeting. And some of that you heard at town meeting. Maria pointed out, others of it came up at the meeting we were talking about. And so I asked, it sounds to me like we have really there are 3 parts to what the group was talking about. And one is this kickoff process, whatever that, and that's why we're driven to get you a recommendation by the end of June, because if we're going to do something in the fall, we would need to begin to think about what that looks like. Then the second meeting would be the town meeting reimagined. And I'll come back to that. And the third meeting would be where we have the Australian ballot vote. See what I mean? The final vote on what is the budget is now going to happen by Australian ballot. The final vote on the
first Tuesday in March.
No, the public questions.
Yeah, the public questions is what I was looking for. Will also be by Australian ballot.
Right.
And that's a question. One question, so we have 3 parts: kickoff, town meeting reimagined, and then the vote, the Australian ballot vote. And what we're imagining for the town meeting reimagined is a hybrid meeting as was specified in the motion. And a question there, and the question there is, or the question in front of the group would be, what is the budget to be presented at town meeting? At the Australian ballot. So there are questions along that we're looking into. Some of them, I'm trying to reach someone at the League of Cities and Towns. I haven't been successful yet. I also thought I could call the Secretary of State to answer some of the questions around, can there be a vote to present where the motion is, we, the voters, approve this draft budget to be presented to the voters, in the Australian ballot.
You mean, and have it binding?
Right,
That's, yeah, that, I know that was,
that's.
that's a good thing to
People
get
felt-
answered. Yeah,
People felt strongly about it, then, but there's also the question of how does that work? So,
right.
The mechanics, the legality. Another person is going to, I think, I kept saying it was Pomfret, but I think it's Thetford, I'm not sure. There was a town that was referenced that has done this, and there was somebody on the committee who grew up in that town. So she's going to figure out sort of what
they
do they do?
Yeah,
Yeah, because, that
I
was
remember looking at it at the time and I couldn't find anything. I mean, it,
Yeah.
but that was the town that was mentioned,
I think it was that first.
Yeah, yeah, Thetford, and Pomfret too, both of them.
Oh, they both did. Oh, was it?
I thought whatever it is,
I thought,
I was the one who screwed it up. I was calling it the wrong thing, but I can't even remember now.
What the right?
What the right or wrong thing is. It's either Pomfret or Thetford.
Thetford, exactly.
The other question that we have is, we had been operating under this, I think everybody was kind of assuming that this town meeting reimagined would happen before or they were assuming that the Australian ballot vote would happen on the second Tuesday in March but the question that we came up with is, could that be the town meeting reimagined day and the Australian ballot vote be a month later? There wasn't
So
some-
you
I like
do,
that.
so you
I like
do,
that a lot.
Yeah.
so you
That's
keep,
very
you
cool.
basically
It is
keep
very
it
cool.
just like town meeting,
Yep.
except for the actual vote. You do everything there.
The timing would be somewhat similar to what we're
Interesting.
doing. That, we
So-
weren't saying we like this or we don't, we did think
But
that
yeah,
might
it's very cool.
alleviate some of the timing issues.
So then, just to be clear, so then town meeting reimagined, I know you keep using that word, town meeting reimagined would happen, as it always does, and then except for the very last time when Dave Barrington says, someone said, I move the question, all those in favor, and the budget is passed as amended. It gets amended, and then that amended version, a month later, gets put before the voters for Australia ballot. And you don't know if that's legal, that
About timing.
Passed on.
Oh, look, there we are.
Now I gotta disconnect.
yeah.
All right, I think we're good.
Oh, we're getting double.
I think we're good.
We're good.
Oh, good.
Just make sure Angelica can hear us.
Angelica, can you hear?
Says they're back. Yep, they're good.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Okay.
What were you saying?
Well, we're so rudely interrupted. About,
I guess the last thing I would say is, we talked about the fact that we're gonna try something new. And it's gonna be iterative. We'll try it
That's a good way to look at it.
and
Sure.
tweak it and then try it again. And one of the things that we talked about is, how do we want to evaluate whether we've achieved our goals? And one of the measurements is participation, and it'd be helpful to know. I don't know if there is a record of the past, votes, number of people voting at town meeting day, that kind of thing. If there is that, it'd be helpful to maybe collect a couple of years worth of information, just because then we can compare what the vote is, in the future. But it was more than just numbers, it was also just energy and, is this feeling like, we've had a
Hit the
place.
mark or not,
There's-
yeah.
Yeah, and there's very much a sense of it is, yes, the voting matters and yes, the discussion matters, but there's also the tables with information about different committees and the tables of information about something new happening. And so when would that fit in? Now, if we kept the TMR, town meeting reimagined, as that
First Tuesday.
that Tuesday in March, then that's gonna feel pretty natural to have it be there. if instead we need to have it at a different time of year for whatever reason, or we choose to, then that, we want to incorporate that in some way and have that be part of it. That's kind of a broad brush.
Thank you very much for that update. That's really cool.
That's great.
Nice job.
Yeah, that's what I was amazing, how much energy there was and how much stuff got done in the first meeting.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it's a very, very organized group, shall we say.
When I come and give an update, that's what I should look for on the agenda is select board updates, and then I'll know that's where.
Yeah.
But we could.
No,
but we could-
no.
we
We could actually
No,
put
we
some-
want
her in.
Right, we want
Yeah.
it to be on the agenda as town meeting reimagined, so that people will show up and go, oh.
Yeah, I would
We
say
don't
we
wanna
should,
hide
we
it in
should,
the select board.
Yeah,
updates, we wanna
I
publicize it.
initially said updates this time because I thought I would do something, but that would be a select board update then. But I thought, no, because we now have a chair. It's
Yeah.
important that the chair,
I think it should be on the agenda named.
yeah,
yeah,
So I'll just look for that.
just, yeah, or request to be on when you're like, hey, we've got something for June 20th, so can I be on? And reach
Yeah,
out to-
our thinking was that I'll come, once a month, I think is what we said.
yeah,
Great.
yeah.
And for now, we're aiming to have, at least, as I say, a framework of
Some kind of stake in the ground, at least talk
especially
about it.
since there's a fall component that's a pretty strong, feeling about, and that we should begin to work on.
Yep.
We don't have to figure out, the childcare arrangements for the first Tuesday in March by June 20th.
Yeah.
But we do need to begin to let the process unfold if we have this kickoff component.
Yeah, and folks are really talking about it being a community event, something in the fall, that's kind of exciting. So, thank you, Gay. Appreciate that. All the work you guys are gonna be doing.
There's a reason why she should have been governor.
She's coming to our next meeting.
Yeah, I can give you.
Yeah, another thing I had on the, is that the RPC had a large series of tip amendments last night.
Amendment?
Yeah, Transportation Improvement Plan. Yeah, if you join the RPC, there are more acronyms than you could possibly have. Even somebody who's been on there forever still asks about certain ones. But that's because the federal capital program, the federal money and the state and municipality fiscal years are different.
Yep.
So there's an overlap. So they had a large number, but wait.
Yeah.
Was received.
Did you do that, Eric?
Which one?
The Dollar General liquor.
No, we didn't see that one.
No,
We did-
Well, it wasn't in yellow.
No,
We did it Dollar General.
we did the
Dollar General tobacco.
That's
Tobacco.
probably what we did.
yeah, because we didn't see a liquor for Dollar General. I
It
think,
wasn't highlighted in yellow, but they did submit their application today.
oh, see, I don't think it came in because
Oh,
of
no,
our
yeah,
packet.
Second class retail LLC, Dollar General. Oh, it says no application to renew yet. but-
Yeah, see,
But
we
it
don't,
came in today.
Okay, do you want us to bang that off real quick?
It would be good, yeah, because they have an April 30th deadline.
Okay.
Motion to approve liquor license for Dollar General.
All right.
Second.
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Jessica.
Jessica, thanks for catching that.
But anyway, no, I'm gonna turn things on. I'm gonna get all confused here with what I've got. The Bridge 15, of one of the long list of changes to the project schedules, Bridge 15 information has been updated again. So for fiscal year 25, preliminary engineering and the right-of-way work will continue with construction schedule for FY 26. But the good news is all those numbers were, in terms of the cost, they were reduced. So that may mean less money that the town has to come up with a match.
We had was it 5% or 10%?
5%. Yeah. And then lastly, the Jericho Energy Task Force held a repair cafe on Saturday, April 13th. And although there were less participants than the full event, it was considered a success because volunteers included 3 with sewing machine expertise. One was also an expert knitter. We had 2 sewing machine specialists and 3 generalist fix-it folks, including a father and son team. It was Peter.
It's very fun. I'm still working on a doll.
Oh, you took home the dollar fix.
Yeah.
Because I have the information. 11 people had reservations and they had 3 walk-ins. Repairs included a wide variety of sewing and knitting projects, a lesson in darning, several sewing machines fixed, a headless doll was taken home by a volunteer to fix, and a lamp and a CD player were looked at. A coffee maker and a vacuum cleaner were unfixable, but at least the owner of the latter has a better idea where the problem probably lies. So it was,
So you say headless doll, you have the head and the doll.
I have all of the doll, and I'm
Okay.
gonna be
Okay,
just
good.
read it in public record. The doll is currently naked on my kitchen table, and the head is at school, and the kids are freaked out about the head. It's pretty involved situation.
Good to know.
that's really good. But that's my updates.
I have nothing.
The only update I have is I went through the house at 2 Railroad Circle with the attempt to just start to get an idea of an estimate of what it would take to get it to what I consider habitable, right? And so I went through with somebody who does, his business is an estimator. He works for a company, or owns part owner of a company that does like insurance estimate work or insurance repair work. So I thought he would be a good one to just give us some idea of what we might be looking at. And that's really just to help and aid the town and the JCDC or whoever's going to end up doing that in the decision of what to do. I just don't have a good understanding of what that might look like. I think it'll take him a little while to get that, but we at least went through it and were able to look at it. I think that's the only update that I have.
I will say that before the meeting tonight, I drove over there. I'd never been over there before, and just kind of drove up Railroad Circle and saw. Is that Wayne's house on the left as you're pulling into?
Mhm.
So just to begin to get my head around the space and what we're talking about. And it's helpful if I had no sense of.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it
it's
is,
like.
there's some definitely wet area to the land. All right, John?
Paula, do you want to do the honors of announcing the new road foreman, or are we
I
able
mean,
to?
Eric already did that, right?
Are we getting a road permit? I had no idea.
The thunder has been stolen, but
It was very pertinent to the conversation. There was no sense in that.
Oh, was I supposed to say
You
that?
needed one of those talk to your lawyer thing for you.
I know, I should have just typed it. Sorry
We
about that.
do have a new highway foreman. He will be starting May 6th. So I was hoping that we could get him to come May 2nd at your May 2nd meeting and introduce him and go from there.
Yeah,
I don't know if
sounds
you want me to say his name or.
It's up to you.
Eric's like, I'm not. Yes, I'd say yes. Say it. I mean, it's public. Right? I
Okay.
mean,
Jacob Johnson is the new road foreman.
No relation
no relation.
that I know of, that I'm
Right,
aware
right.
of, I suppose.
Also, I just wanted to give you guys an update. I've been working with Catherine Bass about getting a kiosk over at the town library outside so that we can start posting our agendas over at Jericho Center again, now that the store doesn't have areas to do that. And she brought it to the board, this last meeting, and they were all for it. So that she could use the kiosk as well as we posting our agendas.
That sounds
Cool.
good. She's got a lot of energy.
Yes, she does.
That's great. That's great. More updates?
That's it.
Wow,
That's the biggie.
that was the biggie. So we need to sign the warrants. Oh, Eric's already done. I forgot Eric's so good at signing. And then we have, well, let's do the minutes first and we'll start signing. All right, we have the biggest thing I had for April 4th was how that sentence was, a couple sentence structures in errors on line 30.
Yeah, I saw that and I wasn't sure.
Yeah. And it said, John said that this is a formality that was requested by our auditor. And it says only 500K has been, no, that's not correct. It's
What line is this, 30?
30.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, I don't know what we should write there. It might be
what it is $676,074 has been spent. And of our allocation, because on the resolution, it tells you how much is left.
okay.
And then what you would say, so we could say,
What line, Catherine? I'm sorry.
I think we're still on 30.
on 30,
Yeah.
we just put 676,074 of our ARPA funds have been spent. 500 is an additional 500 was committed to the maintenance facility construction project, 500,000. And that covers both topics. And then the other thing I had was on line 204, I thought I'd sent it in, but obviously I didn't. Because it says Eric moved to exit executive session at 8:55. Peter seconded, motion passed 3-0. There was no action taken. And then Peter motioned, Eric seconded to adjourn at 8:56. The motion passed 3-0 because that was the storm night.
Yep.
So people weren't there to talk and people just moved right on through that meeting.
I know there might be some value in doing more of them remote. I can't believe how quickly that went.
Oh, it all depends on what the new open meeting law requires.
Yeah.
I know,
Oh,
and
that should be, I guess that should be an update that I should share. I did go to that open meeting law, VLCT webinar on Wednesday. Did you go to that?
No, I got.
yeah, I was gonna
thing
do
that
it because
you're
I
busy at
wanted
school.
the public participation one again. Because that's always a dicey thing to, try to deal with.
Yeah, it was pretty good. We're getting pretty good at it, but it's, there's just, I think when I signed up for that webinar, it was like I thought I saw in the language, I'll have to go back and look, but I thought it was like how to run effective meetings. I was hoping that for a little more guidance on like, how, and
Yeah, that's it. I thought there was,
we've been doing pretty
Yeah,
good since
but-
we've changed some of these timings and stuff, but I was hoping for more on that kind of stuff. So, but anyway, it was good.
well, I know that there's another bill working its way through the House and right now, there's some questions about just requiring hybrid for the main, bodies. But some of the smaller towns are still not happy about that because they don't have the staffing or the equipment or the cost. And it's unclear whether they're still going to leave an exemption for bad weather because that's really where it's really good to be. But most of your other committees can go full Zoom anytime they want. They can just be full Zoom all the time.
Yeah. They talked a little bit about, in the beginning about, the bill that's being considered, but.
Did they talk about weather? I keep every time the bill.
Yeah, so like if they don't allow fully remote and you have bad weather, I guess you just cancel it?
Yeah.
In the old days, you just
That's what they used to do.
Get there, you keep going to the meeting.
Yeah.
Well, and you don't want people to
But
come
it
out.
is inconvenient when you could just go on Zoom,
Right,
Yeah,
like.
yeah.
I mean, we can always, one person Be the
Someone, I drive over here, someone only 2 miles away. and-
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Open it up and.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because every time they mention it, the RPC, I said, are they still keeping the weather in there? Because it makes it so easy for everybody.
It just
That
worked
way,
out so
nobody
good for
has to
that.
go out or take the risk, whether it's ice or snow or,
Choose what you feel safe,
Yeah.
go there. If you don't feel safe, don't.
yeah. Exactly.
Okay, you good with the minutes?
Yep.
Motion to approve the minutes from April 4th with as amended.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Motion to go into executive session to discuss personnel and legal matters because premature disclosure of the information to be discussed would be detrimental to the parties involved. And we would like John Abbott to remain.
Second.
Second. All those in favor, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oh,
Good night, everybody.
good night all.
Thanks
Good
all.
night.
See you, Paula.
Bye.